Hey soldiers, wealthy liberal elites, they are an enemy to economic mobility. They are the enemy of the middle class, and they especially despise the poor. Now, I'm going to show you how liberal elites, I'll give you one example of many, of how liberal elites, they are the biggest hypocrites when it comes to these things I just mentioned, like economic mobility. And it's insane because they vote for policies that they then do not want to see actually take place in their backyard to help people build wealth. Okay, but can you blame them? The middle class, by and large, they really love these liberal policies and politicians too, and they vote for their own economic destruction. Now, what am I talking about? Well, we all saw what happened up in Martha's Vineyard and New York City and Washington, D.C., okay? All liberal enclaves. Now, they say if you can make it in New York, you can make it there, you can make it anywhere, right? So you got immigrants who are coming up from South and Central America. They are hitting these border states. Then they are being asked if they want to go to someplace like New York City, financial capital of the world. If I can make it there, I can make it anywhere, right? But when they get to New York, they're finding out that they're not as welcome as they may have been led to believe, because liberals, they want certain policies in place so that you have to abide by them. They don't. Another example would be all the private jets that just went to Davos, right? And they all went over there, including Al Gore. He didn't fly Delta, okay? He wasn't in business class on a United Airlines flight. They all get over there and they start preaching about how much better they are than us and how they really deserve to hurt the planet because they're trying to save it, right? Liberal hypocrisy. And that's economic hypocrisy as well, because the types of policies they're putting in place, like Al Gore just came out and admitted that the Inflation Reduction Act was really a climate bill. So the types of measures they're putting in place hurt the middle class, hurt economic mobility, hurt the poor. Now, again, despite what people like Eric Adams, the mayor of New York City, this city has a brand. We have a brand. Whew. What a piece of work that guy is. You move up north a little bit, and we got Cape Cod now exhibiting the same behavior of being absolutely against economic mobility. Liberal elites lose it over proposed Nantucket low-income housing project. Now, a little while ago on Facebook, this was last week, I posted about, the whole Black Lives Matter thing, defund the police, that whole thing. That was funded by wealthy elites, okay? Wealthy liberal elites who, if you look at their neighborhood, now I'm a black guy, in case you haven't noticed. I'm a black guy. I take a walk through one of these liberal enclaves, okay? Like Lordship in Connecticut or, Cape Cod. If I just decide, you know what? I'm going to exercise my freedom as an American to go for a brisk walk at 2 a.m. in the morning. Why not, right? I can do that. I'm an American. And I decide to walk through Cape Cod, neighborhood in Cape Cod or Martha's Vineyard. You're going to find, I'm going to find that their police department is not defunded. Liberal elites lose it over proposed Nantucket low-income housing project. Liberal elites spend their summers on Nantucket, an isolated island off Cape Cod, Massachusetts. My wife says I pronounced that state incorrectly. Okay, you guys know where I'm talking about. Boston, that state. Many year-round residents live in homes worth millions of dollars and are furious about the plans to build an affordable housing complex on the island. Now, okay, at first blush, any reasonable person might say, hey, look, man, if you're bringing rental homes to the area, that's going to be a problem because we own here. I'd have a problem with that, okay? However, Surfside Crossing is planning to build 156 homes on a 13-acre affordable housing development. This has sparked a flurry of lawsuits and protest. Actual protest from the granola eating set up in Nantucket. Now you might ask, well, who lives up there? I mean, Tyrone, you're saying these are wealthy liberal elites. I mean, who are you talking about? Well, former Secretary of State John Kerry, for one. Now, John Kerry's the type of guy to come flat out and tell you, look, I'm better than you, okay? He just basically did that up over in Davos.
It's pretty extraordinary that we, select group of human beings, because of whatever touched us at some point in our lives, are able to sit in a room and come together and actually talk about saving the planet. I mean, it's so almost extraterrestrial.
But at the same time, he's a guy that will tell you how philanthropic and how benevolent he is and pat you on the head while, advocating for, the rights of people to live anywhere they want, except if it's in my neighborhood. Eric Schmidt, he is the Google executive chairman. I'm not sure if he's still with them, but, he's another one. He was a big advocate of Google Street View, being able to take pictures of anybody's home, but then they tried to take one of his home, and he got all pissed off about it. Harry Connick Jr., the jazz singer, Meg Ryan. So you got some Hollywood folks that have settled out there. Carly Simon, James Taylor, okay. Oh my God. Do you ever see James Taylor do one of his little serenades? Like they had him do one during the Obama administration. There was some sort of big attack, and he went over to France and sang "You Got a Friend." That was the type of foreign policy we were engaged in. People do a violent act. We send James Taylor as a show of strength, I suppose. So Surfside's planning this 156 home community on 13 acres. So everybody's going to have less than an acre. So they're going to be, small tracts, which is what you find up in, the Northeast a lot of times anyway. But a record amount of residents have turned out at hearings to object to the low-income housing development amid the worst affordability crisis for home ownership ever. So these are people that are going to decry the fact that, these builders out here and homes are so expensive and it's just not right. Well, somebody's trying to build an affordable community in your neighborhood. And let me tell you why this is important with regard to economic mobility and generational wealth. Number one, if I own the smallest house in the development, then that's a good thing from the standpoint of appreciation and my equity. Now, you got to understand that this area is uber expensive in terms of housing. The developers say most elite residents are just furious that low-income housing project will be in their own multi-million-dollar backyard on an island where some homes are listed for sale between $30 and $50 million. And the median listing is $3 million. It should make sense why residents don't want these affordable homes priced between $261,000 and $373,000. Okay, so see, they stand to lose equity, while the bus driver, the cop who protects this area, works for the Nantucket Police Department, but can't afford to live in the actual community. Isn't that what they always say? The cops don't live in the community. Well, here's a chance to locate some cops making all of 80 grand in your neighborhood where the houses go for $3 million at the median, $50 million at the highest. Megan Perry, a year-round resident and opponent of the low-income housing project, said, "I think the developers underestimated our community." Tucker Holland, the town's housing director, said, "It was, quote, the biggest controversy that I can recall in recent years," unquote. Except maybe when they ran out of Ben & Jerry's Rocky Road. That also created quite the furor for these people. However, the rich liberals don't want the working poor in their backyards. These workers clean their pools, for these rich people, mow their grass, police their neighborhood, serve them food. God forbid one of them, falls out from exhaustion. They just sat by the pool too long one day. They got heat exhaustion. Here comes an EMT to help them. These are the type of people that may be very interested in a $261,000 house in Nantucket, right? And these are hardworking people. We're not talking about renters here. We're talking about homeowners who are going to see, they move in there. I can bet you'll get equity right off the bat. You'll go to bed in that house the first night and you'll wake up the next morning and probably have $100,000 worth of equity just simply by virtue of the proximity to these snooty ass Cape Cod residents in their expensive homes. Now, imagine what that will do for generational wealth, okay? You sit on that for 20 to 30 years and then pass that on to your heirs. Imagine what those homes will be worth. Getting in low at between $261,000 and $373,000 and then selling high, okay, 20, 30 years down the road. Good God. All right, that will be something that will catapult the next generation or even you. Okay, if you buy one of those homes and then move out 10, 15 years later, you're going to realize some appreciation. And then you'll have more money, just like the folks up here. They enjoy more money, makes their lives easier. Why don't they want that same thing for the working poor? The rich liberals don't want the working poor in their backyards. Residents such as Perry claim the low-income development isn't a case of NIMBYism or NIMBY, not in my backyardism, but instead about protecting the environment. Now, Perry, I don't know her. She could be, the president of the NAACP chapter up there. Who knows? She adds, it's going to weaken our infrastructure. It's going to put our first responders at risk. It's going to put the community at risk. Now, lady, look, you got $50 million houses up there. I can only imagine that the taxes on such a house is going to enable the community to not miss a beat when it comes to infrastructure. That's a weak argument. It's not going to put your first responders at risk because, again, that gap will be filled, if there is a gap, with the additional taxes from these homes that will allow the community to hire more first responders. Okay, another weak-ass argument. It's going to put the community at risk. How so? Every argument you've given thus far is total BS. What you really want to say is you don't want low-income housing in your backyard because you have some preconceived notions about people who get up and get dirt under their fingernails by going to work every day. You don't mind interacting with them when you sit down at a restaurant and order a $150 lunch, but you certainly don't want them as your neighbors. And in so doing, you're attempting to block this strata of society, the middle class, from being able to enjoy economic mobility. You are hurting their prospects for building generational wealth down the line. The Daily Beast said residents are slamming the low-income development with lawsuits at every avenue they can get. The Housing Appeals Committee gave Surfside Crossings its final seal of approval in September of 2022, but the fight didn't stop there. Less than a month later, the developers were hit with 3 lawsuits challenging the decision, including a filing from the nonprofit Nantucket Land Council that claimed the construction would threaten its work on behalf of public lands. So now they're trying to, in society, we see these, different initiatives, different little groups that trump other groups. So now they're saying, okay, middle class, working class, but the environment trumps them, or at least that's what they're trying to establish. And about a 1.5-hour ferry ride away is another liberal enclave of elites in Martha's Vineyard, where National Guard units were called in last fall to transport dozens of migrants out of town. Now, all of these people in Nantucket, Cape Cod, Martha's Vineyard, they all have the little lawn sign that says, "We believe in science. Coexist." Okay, all we reject hate. They all have that lawn sign. Okay, it's like a prerequisite to move into the area. They've all got it. Okay, and they all got the bumper sticker with the little fish on it. Coexist. But at the same time, they do not practice what they preach. I hope that this community, this builder, what are they called again? Surfside Crossing. I hope they win. I hope they put these houses up. I hope they go back to the drawing board and say, you know what? Let's put up 100 houses for sale, and then let's put up 56 for rent. Let's really help let's help the poor out. Let's go and advertise in North Boston. Let's go deep. Get some folk from Philadelphia, Baltimore City. Say we got extremely low rents up here. First come, first serve. 56 units. They're going fast. Section 8. And I would really love to see that, right? See them lose their minds. But I'm all for this simply because they're bringing homeowners into the area, right? Homeowners into the area that are going to be advantaged financially from the middle classes. It's a win for the middle classes. Okay, if you are not among the Nantucket set, you may be wondering, how am I going to pay for my kid to go to college? Or how am I going to help my grandkids or nieces, nephews go to college? Well, a 529 plan may have been one of the vehicles you were thinking about taking a look at. But what you need to do first is watch this report where we ask the question, is the 529 the best way to finance a college education? Please watch this report before you sign up for a 529. Guys, I'll talk to you soon.